60 feet beneath a frozen wheat field in Montana, behind a blast door that weighs as much as 4 cars, 2 people are quietly doing the math on how long the food will last. Outside, a blizzard has swallowed the only road back to base. The crew that's supposed to relieve them isn't coming. Not today. And so the 24-hour shift they walked in for has stretched into something longer. 36 hours, maybe 48. In the worst winters out here, crews have been sealed in for the better part of 3 days, trapped in a concrete capsule the size of a school bus with 1 bed, a microwave, a toilet, and the launch keys to weapons that could erase a city off the map. Here's the part almost nobody realizes about the people who guard America's nuclear missiles. The hard part was never going to be launching them. The hard part is living down there, while nothing happens. For hours, for days. Staying razor sharp for an order that, if it ever comes, means the world above you has already ended. So how do 2 human beings actually eat, sleep, and stay sane 60 feet underground, sitting on top of the most destructive machines ever built? Let's go inside. Start with the door because the door tells you everything. To get into the capsule, the crew takes an elevator down a shaft, and at the bottom, they spin open a blast door that can weigh around 8 tons, and it only locks and unlocks from the inside. Once it's shut, the 2 officers are the only living souls down there. The entire control room is a steel box suspended on giant shock absorbers, hung like a pendulum so that if a nuclear weapon detonated nearby, the room could swing instead of shatter. That system was installed in 1963. In some capsules, it's worn out now, so the room sits jury-rigged on steel stilts, with a little paper tag hanging off the broken parts telling maintenance to come fix it. And that's the strange thing. Walk inside, and it looks like a movie set from the early 80s. Seafoam green panels, bad lighting, chunky switches, a system that until very recently ran on actual 8-inch floppy disks. One missileer who works down there put it plainly. She'd never seen equipment like this in her life. It feels like a museum. It is absolutely not a museum. It is live, it is armed, and somewhere out in the dark beyond those walls sit 10 intercontinental ballistic missiles waiting on the 2 people in this room. So who are they, and what are they actually doing all day? You'd assume a job guarding nuclear weapons is all white-knuckle tension. It's almost the opposite. The crew is 2 Air Force officers, a commander and a deputy, and most of their shift is monitoring. They watch the status of their 10 missiles. They authenticate message traffic coming down from headquarters. They keep an eye on the silos miles away, and when a motion sensor trips out there, they send security to go check it. 9 times out of 10, it's a rabbit. Somebody still has to drive out into the snow and confirm it's a rabbit. But here's the design detail that reframes the whole job. These 2 people, alone in their capsule, cannot launch on their own. The system is built so that no single person and no single crew can turn the world to ash. It takes 2 separate crews in 2 separate capsules, miles apart, each turning their keys before anything can fly. The entire architecture is designed around one assumption, that the humans are the part you must never let become a single point of failure. And one more thing the crew is never told, what their missiles would even hit. They could be ordered to launch and would carry it out without ever knowing the target. They are trusted with the trigger and deliberately kept blind to the aim. Which brings us to the most ordinary problem in this very unordinary place. Lunch. When the crew gets hungry, they don't reach for some sci-fi ration pouch. They call upstairs. Sitting topside in the soft surface building is a single Air Force cook, sometimes barely out of basic training, making meals to order for everyone on site. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a late-night meal, often 20 to 30 plates a day, all from one tiny kitchen. The food, by most accounts, is solid sports bar fare, burgers, fried stuff, comfort food in the middle of nowhere. It's good enough that there's a running joke about the Minute 15, the pounds you put on pulling alert at Minute Air Force Base. Plenty of officers just pack their own food instead and microwave it down in the capsule. When a site starts running low, the next crew literally brings the groceries out with them. It is a deeply human detail. The most apocalyptic job on Earth, and someone is still down there debating whether to have the chicken again. Eventually, though, one of them has to sleep. And that's where the design gets personal. There is 1 bed, not 1 bed each, 1 bed total. So the crew works it in shifts. One officer climbs into the bunk while the other stays awake at the console, eyes on the board. You are never both off your feet at the same time. Down there with you is that bathroom, that microwave, and not much else. Some people adapt instantly. One young deputy commander said he sleeps like a baby down there. Plenty of others never really do. The cramped quarters were built in the 60s, and it shows. Crews haul sleeping bags, pillows, pajamas, little comforts from home. There's a dark joke about it, that any enemy who came for them would face death by bunny slippers. But sleep was never really the enemy down here. Monotony is. One former missileer described the work as hours and hours of sheer boredom, punctuated by seconds of panic. That is the psychological core of this job, and it is brutal in a way that's hard to explain from the outside. You are not storming a beach. You are sitting, mostly in silence, in a buried room for 24 hours, holding yourself at a level of readiness most people couldn't sustain for 20 minutes. For the slim chance of a single order you spend your entire career praying never arrives. To even get this far, candidates are screened hard on one cold question: whether they can turn the key on command. The hard part isn't the action, it's the waiting, with the unthinkable always one authenticated message away. And that pressure, be flawless at a job that's 99% waiting, has cracked the force before. In 2013, at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, investigators stumbled onto something while chasing a drug case. Missileers had been texting each other the answers to their monthly proficiency exams. By the time it was fully unraveled, around 92 officers were implicated, roughly a fifth of the entire nuclear missile officer force. 9 commanders were fired, and when the Air Force dug into why, the answer wasn't laziness. To pass, you only needed 90%, but the culture demanded 100. Anything less, and your career stalled. As the Air Force Secretary put it at the time, they didn't cheat to pass. They cheated because they felt driven to be perfect, in a job where leadership had decided there was no room for error, ever. The Air Force called it a failure of integrity, not a failure of the mission, and insisted the weapons were always safe. But it cracked open a harder truth about what that relentless, zero-defect pressure does to the people carrying it. And then there's a question the Air Force spent years brushing aside, and is now, finally, being forced to confront. In 2023, a former missileer named Danny Seebeck, by then a Space Force officer fighting non-Hodgkin lymphoma himself, started counting. He found dozens of cancer cases among people who'd served in those Malmstrom capsules. That count became a grassroots registry, the Torchlight Initiative, gathering self-reported diagnoses from across the missile community. When researchers at the University of North Carolina later reviewed the data, they found the odds of that many lymphoma cases in that small group happening purely by chance were something like 2 in 1,000 trillion. People were being diagnosed young, a median age of around 42. Testing at the bases had already turned up PCBs, an industrial chemical, above the EPA's threshold. Now, and this matters, a statistical cluster is not the same as proof that the capsules caused it. The official study is still ongoing, and the honest answer right now is that we don't have a confirmed cause. But the people who spent their 20s guarding the country's deterrent are now asking whether the post itself made them sick. And after dismissing the concern twice before, the Air Force is finally studying it for real. All of this is unfolding inside a system the clock has nearly run out on. The Minuteman III has been on alert since 1970. The capsules date to the Cold War. The plan to replace it, a brand new missile called Sentinel, was supposed to arrive by 2029. Instead, it blew past its budget by 81% to roughly $141 billion and slipped years behind. Which means those 60-year-old capsules may have to keep running into the 2050s. As recently as March 2026, the Air Force was still test-firing unarmed Minuteman missiles across the Pacific because the old system isn't allowed to fail while the new one is late. 2 officers, 1 bed, floppy disks, holding the line into a decade nobody designing this ever imagined. So strip it all away, and here's what you're left with. For more than half a century, the most fearsome weapons humanity ever built have rested, every hour of every day, on 2 people in a box underground, doing almost nothing, perfectly, forever. The missiles get the documentaries, but deterrence was never really about the missile. It was about whether someone was willing to sit beside it, in the dark, eat a microwaved dinner, sleep with one eye open, and stay ready for a day they spend their whole lives hoping never comes. And if you want to see how another corner of this force survives the impossible, The crews who keep these weapons running through 40 below Montana winters, out in the open, there's another one waiting for you right there.